Hi everybody, welcome to the channel, and today this is a brand new series. It's going to be basically building a new set of golf clubs for myself. I'm lucky enough right now to be in a very current set of Titleist. I game in the TSR driver and 3-wood, the T100 irons, the Vokey wedges. Yeah, I'm pretty lucky, but you know what? I've never actually ventured outside of Titleist. I think it's just through habit. Since being a teenager, I've pretty much always played Titleist. This year, I want to find out if there's any manufacturers out there that can, if there's anything better. Is there a driver out there that can go further? Can the Stealth go further than the TSR? Can I get some irons that maybe are better suited to me? I don't know. I have absolutely no idea, but I am entrusting the services of Gatwick Golf Studio. The fitters there have previously fitted on tour to some of the best players in the world, so I'm pretty sure they're good enough for me as well. So I've got no expectations on this. We're going to be starting this series off with the irons, and we're going to be moving into driver, and we're going to be moving into putter. They're the three areas that I'm most keen to explore. And let's see if the clubs that I've already got, let's see if they can survive the challenge of a new manufacturer, or will they stand their ground, stay in my bag for 2023. At the end of these series of videos, we're going to do a brand new what's in the bag for 2023, which I hope carries me all the way to the Open at Royal Liverpool, because I will be heading to Open qualifying on the 26th of June. So everybody cross those fingers and pretty much hope that everybody else pulls out.
Right, we're into the studio, we're going to get started. We're going to work with the irons to start with. So what's this?
So this is what we call a shaft optimizer, right? So for us, when it comes to a fitted shaft, as I'm sure you're probably aware, is the most important component of the golf club, right? That's obviously designed for efficiency of strike, consistency, and then obviously bleeds into spin rates and launch and stuff. So this for us, shaft optimizer, tells me firstly a little bit about your golf swing, and then secondly, which is more important, how you stress the shaft in three individual areas, right? So tell me about sort of butt stiffness, sort of center stiffness, kick angle and torque, and then finally tip stiffness. So we've used this as opposed to sort of working through shafts where there's quite a few options. This will sort of narrow it down to 3 or 4 options that are going to suit you as a player, and then we just work our way through, see which one you work best with.
Okay, cool. I've seen these before, I've never used them. There is it. Where does this transmit information to
an iPad? Yeah, exactly that. So because of the way the shaft design there, there's strain gauge and speedometers in it, so it will feel a bit funny. It doesn't recognize how well you struck it, it just recognizes, like I said, that bend and that stress, right? So what it will measure for me, it measures 5 factors. So head speed, tempo, toe down, kick angle, and release factor, right? So head speed's self-explanatory there, so 96 mile per hour, which is really good. So average on tour, I want to say, is about 92, 93. So you're a good 2 or 3 mile per hour above tour average, which is awesome.
massive?
From there, tempo down to release factor, right? They scale these numbers from 1 to 9. 9 meaning shaft bending a lot, and 1 means it's not bending much at all. And that would sort of relate to, in terms of golf swing, that would be like a John Rahm or Sergio Garcia profile, so a lot of downward lag.
Yeah.
And like a 1 would be more of like an Ernie Els or a Fred Couple, so a super passive transition. So you're right in the middle of the part there in terms of tempo. Ball speed for us is a big sort of number to look at when we're looking at shaft. What we're trying to achieve, the loft comes into account. The stronger the loft, the further it's going to go, like the ball speed. We're trying to get that ball speed as high as we can possibly get it, and as tight as we can possibly get it. That tells me that the shaft, in terms of its stress, is matching what you're applying, and then obviously giving us that consistency of ball speed. So we'll get to a few of your 795, see what numbers we got,
Okay.
and then we'll start putting a few together.
Perfect. Best.
Right, so to be fair, we've got 4 pretty sort of even strikes there, right? One that wasn't your best, one that was better, and then they sort of progressed into better.
It was kind of one of the bit of everything, but actually still not all bad.
So what we've got in terms of numbers, right? So we've got 122 ball speed. You again with a player with a lot of speed, relatively consistent there. So we've got sort of 126 as you really rip one, carrying about 176, 20 degrees of launch, 6-6 spin. Slightly, that was the one that you said you slightly bottom groovy. As to be expected, launch has gone down, ball speed dropped a little bit, but lost a bit of yardage there. And then 122, sort of that right in between the two, the last one. Launch is very similar, spins obviously crept up, and then 172. So to be fair, as numbers go, relatively consistent with the ball speed. Launch, spin, height, descent, angle, carry, all pretty efficient. For me, it's just seeing if we can jump up this ball speed a bit, see if we can sort of generate a hair more spin, and then see where we get to in terms of character. What we don't want to do is like move into a head that gives you way more yardage, but we're going to start sacrificing other sort of way of tread.
With descent angle, what would be generally a decent angle you're looking for?
I'd say probably like high 40s. Right. It's also very relevant to the spin and the launch of the player.
Yeah.
If you're someone that launches it relatively low, your descent angle will be really low, so we'll be able to try and throw that spin off a bit. So it's very relevant to the player, right?
Yeah.
But high 40s for a good player is a pretty good number.
So obviously hitting into greens with irons, we're always looking at, everyone looks more distance, but we also want a bit of stop on the green. So obviously that comes in at 30 degrees, and now you do hit down your 7-iron 20 yards further than you ever hit it. You're also not carrying that front bunker for a start. It kind of makes a big difference into your carry distances, not so much your total. So we're kind of looking here purely at carry, and obviously they're trying to find that right combination. So really, we need a bit more spin. 7-iron, as a general rule, was always like 7,000.
I think about 7,000 is a pretty good number to work with, yeah.
For averaging there at 6.4 and low spinning.
Definitely a little bit potentially we could add to that spin. Just good luck. Exactly sort of as Anna said, that's just going to give us a bit more stopping power as that ball hits the green, which is for irons is very, very important, right? I know this game is moving in that direction of distance, but with irons we need control. It's not just dispersion left and right, it's front and back, and spin's gonna give us that, right?
So the first thing we're going to try and test and improve on is the shaft. So at the moment I use a Stiff Plus KBS Tour C taper shaft. Now the Mizuno Swing DNA tester actually said I should be in a C taper KBS Tour extra stiff shaft. So we're going to do a little test now to see if I can get my ball speed and my spin rates up. And if the distance jumps up, great. But the biggest thing I want to really try and get out of this is more spin, because they are very low spinning numbers for a 7-iron, which are not great. You don't need that. You don't want that. You want the ball to coming in with the optimal, correct amount of spin to get that stop. So let's try a couple of extra stiff C-taper KBS Tour shafts.
We're going to be focusing on this ball speed, right? So we're just going to try and see what we can do with that, try and get it tight and high if we can.
Yep.
And then once we've established what shaft's going to be efficient, we'll then essentially start using that and different heads to optimize all of this. Spin, distance, descent angle, that's right. Right, but so like I said, at this point here for us, this ball speed is the key, right? So if we look at yours, 126, 119, 122, right? To be fair, some good numbers. But straight away move into a slightly heavier, slightly more stout shaft. Look at the consistency in the ball speed then. So 124, 126, 125, 126. So like we've got 2 miles per hour there between your best and worst relative to 7. So when we sort of pull these across and we look at these carry numbers, we've gone 170 to 176 as your slightly missed one and then your rip one, relative to 176 to 168. So quite a big difference there. Gained one more yard in terms of distance. Not that that's anything to rave about, obviously, but the consistency of the carries definitely sort of favourable. Like you was talking about that sort of stop and power lines, that's going to be very, very controllable. More spin.
Way more spin
at more distance, which in fair is rare in that sense. A little bit more descent.
Yeah.
A little bit lower launch, it's climbing to its apex a little bit more. But all round, that's sort of better in every parameter there. So that's a great start.
So as we've established, that is the correct shaft for me. It felt tremendous. But what also felt tremendous, I was using the Mizuno JPX 923 iron heads, and they are madness. They are so good. And you know what? The tagline is nothing feels like Mizuno. And in this case, I have to agree, but the search will not stop there. We're going to be trying out Callaway, Taylormade, Mizuno, and obviously comparing them to my Titleist to see which head is going to match that shaft.
So in comparison to my set that I currently game, we're getting more ball speed, bit more height, and more spin.
Everything that we all love, right?
That is what we love in irons. Just the irons. I'm going to be basically trying to find the correct head. So at the moment I play Titleist T100s. We are going to be trying out.
So we're going to try the Callaway TCB.
Okay.
Mizuno.
Yep.
And then Taylormade P7MC.
Oh, okay, right. So let's see which one wins.
All right, first of all, we're going to be trying out the Callaway TCB irons. I'm excited to try Callaway again.
I did actually game Callaway for about 6 months, 7 or 8 years ago. So I've not actually hit Callaway since. So let's see how this goes. Right, next up I'm going to try out the Mizuno JPX 923s. I've tried them when I was doing the fitting for the shaft and I absolutely love them. Almost part of me is kind of ready to say, you know what? I think that could be the club head for me. They are beautiful. In comparison, the Callaway felt like, it's a bit of an extreme comparison, but it felt like I was hitting a brick. Yeah, in comparison. It felt nice, but it didn't feel like this feels ridiculous. Oh. What are these, guys? What you're about to see, these clubs are mad. These are amazing, tiny, beautiful. Watch this.
They're called FUJIMOTOs. Do you want to, to be fair, we could, do you want to throw them there? Do you want to throw them in? I think is there one there for the SID taper?
They look tiny.
Yeah, they're a little bit harder to hit. Essentially, they've got it's a little bit more pinch in the toe, as you can probably see.
Yeah.
So a little bit like it gives the player the feeling of the club feeling more upright for players that actually need sort of like flatter lies. But again, quite often with good players, they like the feeling of a club being slightly upright because it allows them to feel quite passive with the hands. It feels like they have to really sort of keep their hands still. So that pinch toe has been quite sort of a popular nook.
It looks tiny. I mean, the ball's big, isn't it?
Oh, come further.
Oh, mate, that's a great shot.
No. Oh, look at that, the line on the line. 10! That was bottom. Not a bad bottom. You can cut it back to the line though.
Obviously, one question that everyone's always going to ask, fitting indoors versus fitting outside, the difference between the turf and a mat. For me personally, doesn't bother me.
Yep.
But a lot of people will always say, is it the same?
But the big thing for us was, and why it's very important for us to fit indoors, is when you're sort of hitting outdoors, if there's any sort of conditions, whether it's wind into you, wind out the left, players will react to that.
Yep.
So if the wind's coming hard out the left, for example, and the player's aiming at a particular flag and it keeps working right, the player will start to turn the ball into it. So we like to keep it as controlled as we can. It's purely about the club.
Yeah.
It's not about how the player's reacted to the wind, the weather, whatever it may be. Just keeps it a bit more sort of club focused. It also affects lie as well, you know, like if a player's hitting the ball right because of the wind, you can sort of the fitter can fit into going thinking we need to make the club more upright to help that start line, but reality it's just weather.
All right, so my new irons for 2023, we're changing from a KBS Tour C-Taper stiff plus shaft going up to an extra stiff shaft, and we're changing the heads from a Titleist T100 to the Mizuno JPX 923. What this change has given me is more spin. So you remember earlier on in the video, I had 6,400 RPM spin with the 7-iron in my clubs. The Mizuno, the head change and the shaft change has now got me closer to 7,000 spin without losing anything. I've actually gained on average 1 yard in distance. So I've got a higher ball flight, higher spin is giving me a higher angle of landing. So that means when the ball lands on the green, it's going to stop a little bit faster because it's coming in from more of a height with more spin, and it's even got an extra little bit of carry. As well as all of that, the ball speed is a little bit more consistent. So even on the off-center hits, it doesn't fluctuate too much. We saw at the very start of the video when I slightly mishit one of the shots, it dropped about 5 or 6 miles an hour, which is massive. But on these new ones, when I slightly mishit it, it only drops 2 or 3, which again makes a huge difference because that carry distance is always the one thing that I'm thinking about with my irons. So really happy, really happy with this adjustment to the bag. When I get them, we're gonna be doing a what's in the bag, but the next video you're gonna see, we're gonna be trying out the driver. Here's the Titleist TSR2, the best driver for me. Let's see. Guys, thanks very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please do hit the like, please hit the subscribe. Loads more content to come, so hit the subscribe button so you do not miss what's coming to the channel next. Thanks for watching, see you next time.